What a warm welcome to all my healthy friends out there. Hope you all guys are doing great. This is Wellness Talk, and I am George Batista, your host and your wellness advocate. Wellness Talk is a show that goes over the latest in health and healing, nutrition and fitness and supplements. And we take the mystery out of supplements, take the mystery out of health, and give you some tools and tricks that you can use to live healthier lives. Glad you guys could be with me today. GeorgeBatista.com, as always, is the website that has all the information that we go over. So make sure you guys check that out because it's a great resource, great library with a lot of cool and informative health content. That's the main thing about this. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast because, again, this is how we grow. You guys help us grow, and this is growing all around the world, and the word is spreading. So thank you all for helping us out and spreading the word. All right, so today we're going to be talking about a couple of things. We've got from Wellness Resources, we're going to be talking about the Cordyceps mushrooms. And this is the prized mushroom for brain, lungs, gut, and endurance. So this is going to be very interesting because some people may have not even heard of the Cordyceps mushroom or the Cordyceps fungus, actually. But I think you're going to find some interesting information on this because it's really, really a helpful mushroom. And it's one of those things that can really help you in many, many facets of health. So I think it's going to be very informative for you guys. Then I'm going to be talking about back to school for the kids out there. I have a daughter that's going back to school as well this week. So I'm going to be talking about back to school nutrition. Again, this is an article from Wellness Resources. And, we all know how difficult it is for kids to have nutrition in the first place, right? Especially it's so much harder, especially the younger they are, to really get them the nutrition that they need. And, kids are dealing with stress. Kids are dealing with all different types of things out there. So we want to try to fill them with as much nutrition as possible to give them the best chance of not only dealing with all that stress, but dealing with all kinds of viruses and things that are lurking out there. So we're going to talk about the best things to give your kids when it comes to nutrition. Again, when they're going back to school, again, to give them the best chance. Then our spotlight nutrient for this week is going to be on Wellness Resources DHA for kids. So for those kids for those parents who feel like their kids are not getting enough of the omega-3s, because we all know how important omega-3s are for the development of kids' brains and just overall development, this is an easy way to give your kids the DHA that they need and the omega-3s that they need. So we're going to go talk a little bit about that product and what's in it and why you should be using it for your kids and why it's easy for them to take as well. So this is going to be important information for you guys. So let's get started. All right. First, we're going to talk about Cordyceps, the prized mushroom for brain, lungs, gut, and endurance. Again, this is from Wellness Resources. So let's talk a little bit about it. So for those of you who don't know what it is, and the Cordyceps is a fungus that actually grows. It's in mushrooms, but it's also in insects, actually, especially caterpillars. They found it in different insects. Caterpillars have that, but it's typically have been used in Chinese medicine. And it's been used for centuries in Chinese medicine. So, and it has a lot of medicinal qualities. So, obviously from supporting lungs and kidneys to its benefits in stress and tolerance and cellular energy, ATP, brain health, cardiovascular supports, this all different types of things that it supports. But it's also used as a tonic to provide adaptogenic, antioxidant, anti-aging, and immunomodulatory modulatory activities and liver protection as well. So it's got so many cool functions. Okay, so it provides numerous nutrients like vitamins B1, B2, B12, vitamin E, vitamin K, minerals, and special compounds like sterols, which are great as if you're dealing with high cholesterol, that type of thing, polysaccharides, polyamines, and other cellular modulators. So let's talk a little bit about specifics when it comes to this. So brain health, for example, we'll talk about how it helps brain health. So cordyceps, and by the way, it's spelled Cordyceps. So cordyceps aids in the neuroprotective effects within the brain, including the hippocampus memory center. We've talked about that on this show in the past. And there has been research that's shown that it actually helps to balance a multitude of signals and actions between glutamate and GABA. So I talked about that in the previous podcast. And if you're not sure about it, make sure you reference that previous podcast. We talked about glutamate, which is the excitatory neurotransmitter in your brain, and then GABA, which is the actual relaxant neurotransmitter in your brain. So you want this balance between the excitatory and the relaxant, right? And in the past podcast, I talked about how if the excitatory is way high, and you've got low GABA, you have a lot more stress on the brain, and therefore you have a lot more, you have a lot more problems when it comes to brain and cognitive health and memory and those types of things. Okay. So you want, again, this balance between the two. So in the hippocampus, it's shown that the cordyceps mushroom actually helps with the balance between the glutamate and the GABA receptors. And it's essential because you want to manage what's called brain drain from long work, long school days, long focus, that type of thing. So glutamate helps to deal with the neurological wear and tear between the glutamate and the GABA receptors. So very, very important stuff. Now, in October 2021, in the European Journal of Pharmacology, there was a review that studied the highlighted cordyceps' ability to modulate the neuroinflammatory and neuroprotective mechanisms in the brain. Okay. And the cordyceps benefits include the natural repair of the fatty myelin insulation layer around the nerve. So now, again, you have this myelin sheath that goes around your brain, and it helps to protect your brain, and it helps to, it's kind of a layer, this fatty layer of brain that helps protect the neurons and the nerves and that type of thing. So now, what it does is it inhibited excess microglial cell activation and also inflammatory markers. So you have these inflammatory markers called NF-kappa B, tumor necrosis factor alpha. You have COX-2, and you have INOS, which is the kind of the inflammatory marker of nitric oxide. Not the nitric oxide, not the good nitric oxide, but it's actually, there's also an inflammatory nitric oxide that is secreted as well. So they have found that the cordyceps actually help to support glutathione and superoxide dismutase antioxidants levels in the brain, helping to calm all these inflammatory signals. Very, very important. Okay. It also mitigated what's called lipopolysaccharides, or LPS. Again, these are inflammatory compounds that are secreted by the gut and by different receptors in your body. Now, again, when you're looking at things like LPS, okay, these are toxins. These are toxins released by bacteria, and microglial cells are the neuroimmune cells in your brain critical for housekeeping, right? So again, we talked about in the past podcast, we talked about cleaning your brain out, the housekeeping part of the brain when you're sleeping, especially. So overactivation of microglial cells and the presence of LPS, of all these saccharides, and the higher production of, again, of NF-kappa B in your brain is stressful to the tissues. Okay, so think about it in terms of like revving your car engine up when it lacks oil, and dumping in, when you're doing this high revving, but you don't have any oil, you're not going anywhere, right? So you're getting all the smoke, the sputter, this breakdown, all that type of thing. This is what this refers to, this overproduction of these toxins and the LPS. Okay, so these are the things that you got to think about. Now, the cordyceps also helps to provide similar protection against LPS toxin-induced responses in the lungs. Okay, so again, tumor necrosis factor alpha, interleukins, COX-2, and INOS are all things that are also inflammatory neurotransmitters, inflammatory molecules that end up in the lungs as well. So cordyceps helps to mitigate that in the lungs. It acts as an antioxidant in the lungs and helps to balance these things as well. Now let's look at gut microbiome repair and the immune system. So cordyceps has been shown to improve the abundance and the diversity of beneficial bifidobacteria in animal studies. It also helped to repair the lining of the digestive tract and to modulate inflammatory mechanisms in the colon. So again, people dealing with a lot of dysbiosis, right? Or an imbalance of the bacteria in your gut. So this helps with that imbalance, helps to keep things moving appropriately, and helps to mitigate the inflammatory markers in the gut. Okay, helps to also provide significant immune effects. Now, keep in mind, again, we know that 70 to 80% of your immune system is in the gut. So this helps with dealing with that, and it also helps to increase the production of macrophages. Now, we know macrophages are these cells that eat up all these different types of bad cells and all this inflammation and all that stuff that's created, right? So it helps to increase these types of things to help the immune system work better, helps to immune system adapt to stress, and helps to modulate immunoinflammatory responses just overall. Now, there was a 2021 study that demonstrated also this immune effects in animals. They were fed a diet that induced fatty liver congestion. A lot of people are dealing with that right now. Animals that received cordyceps in their diet experienced an improvement in liver function with the burning of triglyceride fats through the activation of AMPK signaling pathway. Now, AMPK is the master enzyme switch, right? Which causes your cells to burn fat and glucose for energy. So, what cordyceps did is that it activated this switch and made it work better in your system. So, you were able to burn fat better. You were able to burn glucose better. Okay. You have to remember that AMPK activity declines with age, where this is where you don't get your burning of fat decreases as you get older and that type of thing. So if you're ingesting these cordyceps and you're making sure that you're getting enough in your system, it actually helps again to kind of slow that down as you get older and helps it work better in general. Okay. Let's talk about it for exercise, endurance, and weight management. There's been a lot of studies on this. Okay, it's actually been used historically in sports in general for exercise performance. It helps with ATP energy production. We know that that's what your mitochondria produce, right? Your mitochondria are your cell engines. So it actually helps to also release nitric oxide, the good nitric oxide inside your blood vessels. Why is that important? Because nitric oxide is the gas in your blood vessels that helps them to dilate, helps the blood flow through there. And it helps, when you're running up the stairs or running, when you're doing sports and you're running down the track or whatever it is, nitric oxide helps with the dilation, helps that blood flow through to wherever it needs to go so you can do those energetic activities. Okay. So cordyceps helps with that. And there was a recent small double-blind randomized control study evaluated the effects of cordyceps with rhodiola rosea, which is an adaptogenic herb. So they use these two things together in exercise endurance. And they found that sedentary adults in their early 20s were given the herbal combination with exercise trainings versus the control group with exercise only. The results showed that after 8 weeks, the group that received the adaptogenic herb support and exercise, those who exercised, experienced improvement in body composition, endurance capacity, more so than the exercise group alone. And their findings included weight loss with less fat mass in their arms and significant improvement in the leg muscle mass. And by the way, the dosages were around 1,000 to 1,800 milligrams per day. And also, they have found that cordyceps also helps to support healthy bones. Randomized controlled trials in animals showed that cordyceps support bone health by influencing several mechanisms related to bone building and mineralization. So lots of information here. I mean, it does so many, and there's more and more studies coming out about the cordyceps, and you can look it up as well. You definitely take a look at this because it's really, really important for health in general. And if you want to take a look at cordyceps, the cordyceps compound, as far as the supplements that we recommend, take a look at Adrenal Helper. So Wellness Resources has Adrenal Helper. It's a supplement with other adaptogenic herbs, again, like rhodiola rosea, and kind of a Siberian ginseng product with holy basil and gamma aragonol. So this supplement it's great for stress relief. It's great if you're doing sports. It's great to balance, again, the excitatory and the relaxant neurotransmitters and the signals in your body to help you deal with the stress, right? Overall stress and sports as well. So check out this again. It's called Adrenal Helper. You can get it at myvitaminresource.com by Wellness Resources. But I think it's something that you should definitely take a look at, especially if you're an athlete. Okay, next, we're going to be talking about back to school nutrition. Okay, so it's very important to obviously get your kids, ready for school. Parents are doing that these days. Some of the kids, depending on which state you're in, have probably already gone back to school. And then some, like in the Northeast where we are, the kids go back to school this coming week. My daughter's going back to school this week. She's going to be a junior now. It's amazing how fast they grow. She's going to be heading to college in a couple of years. And it's like, I mean, I just remember her being a 2-year-old running around the house, and right now she's already, ready to go to college. It's just amazing. But anyway, so obviously back to school, you have stress, right? I remember when I was a kid, I wasn't exactly a big fan of school in general, and that part of the reason was because I was very much an introvert, and me dealing with a lot of kids, and the fear of school and the fear of these teachers, it was not good for me. So I had a lot of stress going back to school. But um, you know, preschoolers, especially the young ones, can deal with this, right? Because obviously sometimes they may not be able to express their feelings. They may be dealing with increased shyness, and some of them may be crying, not wanting to go to school. I remember my daughter a couple of days where she was crying. She didn't want to go back. She didn't want to go to school for whatever reason. She wanted to stay home. And as a parent, I don't know if some of you have experienced this, but as a parent, when you're dropping your child off at school for the first time, whether it's preschool or or kindergarten or whatever it is, and your child is absolutely crying like crazy, it does something to you in your heart. Because I remember dropping her off and she was hysterical. She didn't want to go, and I remember the teacher grabbing her and saying, "Dad, you got to go. You got to go, because the more she sees you, the more she's going to cry." Right. And I walked out of there and I was almost in tears myself, because you don't want to see your kid crying. You don't want to see your kid unhappy, right? Nobody wants to see your kid that way. So, but it just brings me back to those memories. Now, my daughter, loves school now, but it's just very, very interesting. But anyway, again, kids are dealing with stress in school, right? Exams, especially my daughter's dealing with all these big exams now that colleges are going to be looking at. The kids are dealing with, kids are in school with 20, 25 other kids, right? Now they're kind of in a crowd every single day. They're dealing with kids that are going to have viruses. They're going to be dealing with kids that, going to be sneezing all over the place, and all the stuff that's, going around these days. You want to prepare your children. You want to prepare your children as much as you can. So let's talk about some of the key nutrients that you have to make sure that your kids eat, or your kids have in their diet and or in their supplements as well, to help them deal with all this stuff. Okay, so the first one, again, this is from Wellness Resources, and this is on the site. First one is iron. So if your child likes to eat, if your child is young, really, really young, they like to, try to eat dirt or ice, or frequently cold, looks pale, or has frequent colds and illnesses, or gets tired easily, especially after playing, they may need more iron. Okay. Lack of iron can also affect mood, anxiety, depression, loss of interest, irritability, impacts on cognitive function and learning. Okay. So iron is needed for thyroid function, growth, muscles, brain, mitochondria, energy, mood, and much more. So you got to make sure your kids have enough iron. That's one of the big things. Okay. Obviously, you don't want your kid dealing with anemia at a young age, because again, they're going to be a lot more tired, and you don't want them to be put on iron at a young age. So making sure they have enough iron is key. The next thing is choline, DHA, and things like phosphatidylserine. So choline is a B vitamin-like compound. It impacts cognitive and behavioral health. Choline is the backbone for making the neurotransmitter acetylcholine in your brain, and is critical for learning and memory. Okay, when your child tells you that they have a tummy ache, you're also getting a clue that their nervous system is stressed because of the direct link between brain, gut, and your gut microbiome. Okay. So your gut's response to stress is intimately connected with the brain via the vagus nerve. We talked about that in previous podcasts. So you want to make sure that this is all working properly. So you want healthy gut, you want healthy B vitamins, okay? So, and your gut microbiome helps to make acetylcholine, as do foods rich in choline, such as beef, liver. Not that kids are going to be eating liver because I hate it, by the way, but things like eggs, beef, salmon, chicken. All these nutrients contain essential B vitamins. They need to have B2, B6, B12, and folate. Absolutely essential for growing kids. Okay, omega 3 acids. Omega 3s are essential fatty acids needed by the brain. They must be obtained every single day through the diet. The best sources of fatty fish like tuna, salmon, herring, sardines, and other foods like walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds, these types of things. Very, very important. Okay, we're going to be taking a look at the kids' DHA in a couple of minutes. But again, also the B vitamins, going back to B vitamins for a second, your B vitamins are also critical for your nervous system and nervous system function. Okay. And keeping in mind that taking, a lot of people want to take strictly like a B12. Okay. But you have to understand about B12, just taking that by itself, it actually can deplete the other B vitamins that you have in your system over time if you just take B12. Okay. So you want to take a B complex. My suggestion would be to always take a B complex, whether it's the B complex by itself that contains all the B vitamins, or you can take it in your multivitamin. But you want to make sure either way that kids are taking or getting this. It's essential for their nervous systems. Calcium and magnesium are critical, right? Calcium, the growing bodies need minerals for bone strength. They need it for muscle activity, physical energy, and cellular interactions. There's a coral calcium that Wellness Resources has that it's a great way. It's actually a powder, and it's a great way to get the calcium and the magnesium in the powder. It can be added to water or a protein smoothie. If your kids take a chocolate smoothie in the morning or something like that, you can add that in there. It's a great way for them to get those minerals in there. And there's research that estimates that at least 30% of the children and 60% of adults fail to get adequate daily needs of magnesium. Got to have magnesium, extremely important. And again, for cognitive health, when you're dealing with, especially when you're dealing with things like ADD, ADHD, those types of things, it's important to get the nutrition in there. So protein is another thing that kids need, right? Growing kids need protein. We all need protein, but growing kids especially. Protein smoothie with a banana and some berries is an easy way to get a good breakfast in. It can be very helpful for growing kids or athletes who want some recovery time. If your kid is older and they're playing ball, great for recovery and building strong muscles. Helps because obviously protein provides the amino acids that are needed for neurotransmitter production and hormone transport. Okay, so very, very important. So I would take a look at Wellness Resources Daily Protein and Daily Protein Plus. Great. It's grass fed protein. There's not a lot of junk in it. And if I'm recommending it, by the way, there's not going to be a lot of junk in it because I don't recommend junk. That's not the way I do things. So it doesn't contain any lactose, casein, sugar, or any other sweeteners. So those of you who are lactose intolerant, casein intolerance, those types of things, you don't have to worry about that because the proteins that they sell are great where that doesn't contain any of that stuff. Okay. And just some helpful tips and resources. Get your kid off to a good start every morning with a high protein breakfast, if at all possible. Try to get them on some basic supplements. They can, if they're older, they can take the Daily Energy multivitamin. These are top choices. If they're younger, have them take the super mini multi. That's recommended between 2 and 12. 12 years or older, they can take the regular multivitamin. Have them take the daily DHA and coral calcium. Other supplements that can help them with stress helper, super brain booster, relax mag, pantethine, acetyl L-carnitine, physitine, grapeseed extract, and vitamin D. Those are great choices. They can kids can use these, or both kids and adults can use these together. Okay, excuse me, but it's very, very important to get them off to a good start. And this is kind of what we did. um, when my daughter was young, 5, 6 years old, we stressed the importance of nutrition, but we knew that there were certain factors that we were not going to be able to control. We knew that we weren't going to be able to control, when my daughter goes to parties and, her friends' parties and stuff like that. You knew there was going to be junk out there. You knew that all her friends were going to be eating certain sweets and stuff like that. And you want the kids to have fun. You don't want to be, a tyrant when it comes to this, especially if you're, in the nutrition space. Your kid is involved in this, but at the same time, you don't want to have your kids not be involved in any of that. So what we did is we kind of made a compromise. So what I said to my daughters, okay, we had good conversations about it. We stressed the importance of nutrition and why we need it, but I said we're going to allow you 2 sweets a day. That's what we did. We said 2 sweets a day. You can have a sweet in the afternoon, you can have a sweet in the evening, but that's it. 2 sweets a day. And we drill that. Okay. So when she was with my mother, or when she was with her other grandmother and all that, they knew the rule. She can have 2 sweets a day, but that's it. Okay. And then it's interesting because she grew up with that. And then she actually was able to repeat it to anybody she was with. No, my mom and dad allow me only 2 sweets a day. That was a way to control it, but at the same time, give her some space, give her some fun to have. But with that said, we also said, you're going to take a multivitamin, or you're going to take a smoothie in the morning. That's fine. And we packed the smoothie with some honey to sweeten it up. She drank the smoothie in the morning and went off to school. This way, she had a packed smoothie um, full of nutrition that helped the brain, right? And had a little bit of sweetness to it with the honey, which was antibacterial, raw honey, antibacterial, by the way. So if she was dealing with any kind of viruses or whatever, it started to work on that as well. And so it was kind of the best of both worlds. Okay, so we gave her nutrition, and the two things that she had to take was a multivitamin and vitamin D, which she still takes to this day, by the way. And by the way, those of you who should be taking your vitamin D now, it's already in the September months. So get started on your vitamin D. Get your kids started on vitamin D. This way you can build that up, because again, we have viruses running around out there, right? So making sure you're getting your vitamin D. But that was the compromise that we had. We knew we weren't going to be able to control the fact that she was in school, unless you're homeschooling. That's a different story. But if she's in school, she's going to be surrounded by, 25, 30 kids, 25, 30 germ-ridden kids, right? Who are sneezing, who have colds. We knew we weren't going to be able to control that. So we can control her nutrition and boosting her immune system and doing everything we can in that space. And that's what we did. And sure enough, she got her little colds here and there. We pumped her full of vitamin C. We pumped her full of the nutrition. She got through her cold. Her cold lasted a couple of days, went away, and she was good to go. I didn't have this when I was a kid, right? I didn't have somebody giving me these nutrition concepts. I didn't have, when I was a kid, it was a different story. Okay. And we knew that, that with kids these days, they've got so much influence between social media and between all their friends and all this. There was no social media. There was none of that when I was a kid. I had to rely on what my mom told me, and that was it. So, be an example for your kids at the end of the day, and do it together. Do it together as a family. Making sure that you're both doing it. The kids, mom does it, dad does it, however, whatever your structure is at home, whatever your family structure is, whoever's there, make sure you do it and have your kids do it. See, dad does it and you do it, and we do it together, and this is how we keep ourselves healthy. And you tell your kid, listen, there's viruses out there. Kids know about COVID. There's COVID out there. We want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves as much as possible from what's out there. And that's a good way to do it. And start them young, because by the time they're 14, 15, 16 years old, it's already in their head. It's already normal in their head. Okay. Because again, they're going to have all these influences from all these other kids, all these other people. Right. So just a tip, that's what we did. And it seemed to work in my house. And my daughter, again, she still has her sweet here and there. And I'm good with that. But at the same time, she eats good food. She loves salads. She'll eat broccoli. She'll eat spinach. And, she'll drink a smoothie. She'll have her multi, and she's good to go. And she plays sports. So she knows that having those things is important to being good at her sports as well. It's very, very important. So Just some tips for you guys. If you have younger kids, whether they're teenagers or young kids, either way, be the example, help them out, and I think the kids will be better for it, and we'll have a healthier society as we get older. All right, finally, our nutrition spotlight for the week is going to be on DHA Kids. This is from Wellness Resources again. It's the kids form of DHA. Again, we know that omega 3s are absolutely important and have to be taken in to make sure, especially for children, supporting brain health, cognitive health, growth. You got to remember that the brain needs fat. Your cells have fat. There's fat all around your body. You need this fat. Okay. Your body needs this. This is part of the whole process. Okay. So the DHA Kids brain, eye, and nerve support, and by the way, your nerves need it as well. So it helps to support healthy brain cells, eyesight, and mood. It's the highest quality mercury fish oil. It's high in the desirable DHA omega 3 oil, which is very important for the brain, right? And it's a no burp fish oil. A lot of fish oils out there, you get this kind of repeating, you get this burp. So this, you don't have to worry about it with the kids. It's mercury free fish oil, and it helps to support learning, mood, nerves, eyesight development. And it's also in what's called the triglyceride form, which is which is one of the best forms that your body can take in. It's very absorbable. It does not oxidize in the capsule, and again, it doesn't cause burping. It's about 300 milligrams in there. So check it out. Again, the Kids Daily, or the Kids DHA from Wellness Resources. This show again is brought to you by Wellness Resources, 35-year-old supplement company on the forefront of clinical nutrition since 1985. The supplements that we use in my home. And make sure you go to myvitaminresource.com. And by the way, if you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping. So check that out. DHA for the kids, great to help them and support them as they're growing and, going off to school. All right, so that's it for this week. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys have a great day, and hope you guys have a great week. So don't forget to make sure that you take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, don't forget to control your health. Have a great day.